So what is our authentic self? Well, that's a good question. When a child is born, the first 2 years, they're in their authentic self. They haven't developed an ego or personality yet. In fact, it takes about 2 years before they look in the mirror and actually recognize themselves. And from then on, of course, year after year, their personality starts developing and ego. But we have an authentic self in us all the time. And it says, I've read anyway, that our ego grows throughout our life until the end of our life, but I don't agree with that. Because the older you get, for most people, through trial and error, through all the successes and failures and experiences, you might say our authentic self starts coming back. We don't care about telling lies anymore. We want to tell the truth. We don't want to do something that we know is ridiculous. We want to do something that is helpful to us. And our ego starts to, in a sense, disappear. Because in fact, it was an illusion the whole time. Not that it didn't have an influence on us and lead us through life in many directions, but it's not our true self. Our true self is authentic. And if you can come from that point, you're going to be a lot happier in life. You're going to feel like life was worth being around for the 80, 90, 100, 200 years, however long you live. Your authentic self, or your true self, really, really exists independently from society norms and their opinions. What's expected of you. It's sort of like when I was in the military, boot camp was very interesting because one big purpose of boot camp is to make you conform. Take your independent streak, independent thinking, and think like the other people in your unit, other people in whatever you join, Navy, Air Force, Marines, whatever. And so when you get out on a battlefield or you're taking orders anywhere in the world, you will act accordingly. In other words, you won't independently go your way and figure out what to do. You take orders. Well, society is a little bit like that. As you progress through, people expect you to conform a certain way. The status quo, you don't want to be a so-called black sheep and stand out. But what's funny about that, creativity usually comes when you are independent. In other words, you think for yourself. And if you think for yourself without pressure from others and society or whatever, you start edging into a place where you know how to be calm, cool, and collected under any circumstances. Because life on the planet here is like a school. Lessons to be learned. But what happens with a strong ego, it doesn't always work out that way. We see it as a place to gain our desires. Now there's good desires and bad desires. Good desires is to improve yourself, reach a place where you're more peaceful, have empathy for others, understanding, love, all the positive attributes that human beings are capable of. But there's a funny thing that even though the ego is manufactured and your true self isn't, it kind of knows when you start working on yourself, and it will throw in obstacles to challenge you. Now, you could call that life lessons, but if you're paying attention, you'll have all the answers you want, the correct one for these lessons, and act accordingly. But if you're chasing your desires, you go to any means to achieve those desires, and those are usually the negative ones. What's funny is when we're out in nature, just like I am right now, and there's no one around, the ego really doesn't have much to do with it. If I come out here and seeing how beautiful it is, what a great day, or any other aspect of it that is a plus, then that's a good emotion. And nature brings out emotions that are fulfilling, unless, of course, you're waiting to be rescued in some situation. But basically, nature gives us a peaceful place to come and reflect. And come and reflect on life. Reflect about ourselves in relation to others. Because whether we want it or not, unless you're a hermit, we're going to be around people the rest of our life. And how do we respond to that? Authentically or conditionally? And most people respond out of conditioning. Likes, dislikes, disagreements, agreements. But if we, just like in nature, it's neat to come out and just listen and look. And it puts us in a centered place. And from there you can reflect on life a lot easier than sitting in a cafe with noisy people. But you know, I don't have all the answers, of course. In a lifetime, you won't have all the answers. And that's what the school's all about. And I prefer to be close to nature as I learn my lessons. Reflect on what I need to do next. Can I be a better person? Can I try hard with empathy? And I think the best solution is to go sit in nature. And I used to practice this, is just look in a direction and just notice everything. The way the tree's growing. If there's leaves, what color are they? Which way is the light coming? Look at the shadows. What's the texture of that tree? What kind of tree is that? What kind of birds are those up in the tree? Again, the trick is to be centered and grounded, because there's only one reality for us in life, and that's in the moment. As soon as we go exploring the past, down memory lane, or projecting out into the future, what we might do, what we have to do, it takes us out of the moment. It takes us out of reality, because reality is the moment all the time. If I take 10 steps in one direction, the last step, the 10th, and stop, the 9 up to that 10 is now in the past, as much as 40 years ago. And the future hasn't started yet until I take another step. Now that might be a silly little example, but I've spent, well, I'm in my 70s, and I can tell you, as you get older, you tend to be in the past more, thinking about, oh, what if I would have done this or that? And your future, of course, well, how long am I going to live now? 5 more years, 20 more years? So start slowing down that a tendency, really, to jump into the future and jump back into the past. Stay in the moment. Stay and be here now. Now be here. So I started all this rambling, walking around talking about what I've been talking about, and to put it out there with you, my fellow travelers in this life, and to get your feedback if it made sense to you and how you feel about your higher self, if you think you have one, or life in general. I'd like to start a dialogue with you. So subscribe, hit the like button if you liked it, and there'll be more coming if I think people out there are interested in hearing more about how you travel through life. What are the pitfalls? What's the positive things? How can you make the best of your life? Until then, enjoy life. Stay inside.